Alright everybody, welcome back to the Gaming Byte. So, the Xbox.com just released most likely the final specs and reveal of the Xbox Series X on their website. So I figured, hey, let's go over it and see what they had to offer that might be new. And if anything special has been taken away or given to us with this announcement. So, let's get into it. So the site's really going about how powerful the Xbox Series X is, how it's the most powerful Xbox to be announced yet. I mean, that's usually how new consoles go. The next one is usually the most powerful one of them all. Unless you're Nintendo, sometimes it gets confusing which one's more powerful, but most of the time, the PS5 should be the most powerful PlayStation of all time. So, I mean, it's not really much being said, it's just kind of, okay, Xbox, thanks for the announcement. This is the interesting part. So they talk about the evolution of gaming from 2D, 8-bit, 16-bit, SD to HD, 3D, and finally 4K. Notice how they're not talking about 8K anymore, which is fine. They should have never been talking about 8K. It's not necessary for a console, but it's more about the frame rate, 60 frames, and how they want to get up to 120 and allow the developer to use what they need. So I think that's more important than resolution right now. Allow the developer to be like, I want this frame rate, 4K, whatever. That's more important than 8K will ever be at this point. They also talk about how they can get up to 120 frame rates, which, I don't know, for console gaming is probably important for certain games. Hey, if you're going to give me more frames, I'm not going to complain. I can play games at 30 frames upwards, so it's like, they all look good, they all work fine. So, you know what? 120 frames? Sweet. I'll take it. If it makes the game look smoother, that's always the best. Alright, so they get into what's powering the console now. It's an 8-core AMD Zen 2 CPU and an RDNA 2-class GPU. Yeah, see, as a console gamer, that doesn't mean much to me. All I know, it makes the console more powerful than last year, can run 4K, can go up to 120 frames. Now, the question is, they don't mention whether that's 4K 120 or 4K 60. It's probably 4K 60. 120 is probably 1080, which is, yet again, still fine. Alright, so they gave us the spec sheet too. So we have 8 cores, 3.8 gigahertz for the CPU. Alright, sounds fancy. 12 teraflops. That's what everyone considers nowadays when they talk about consoles. It's kind of funny. It reminds me of the old days when it was like, oh, it's 18-bit. It's 16-bit. Now it's 32. Oh well. 64-bit, 128-bit. And then they kind of stopped talking about that because it really wasn't important anymore. Now it's, well, it does teraflops. 12 teraflops, which is way more than the Xbox X did. So, yeah, that's like the new bit. Die size means nothing to me. I hope that means something to you. Process 7nm enhanced. I hear that number a lot when I watch tech stuff. Still don't know what it means. Memory, 16 gigabyte GDR6. I know that's important. The more memory, the better. So 16 gigs is a big difference. And DDR6. Yeah. Memory bandwidth, 10 gigabytes. At how fast? So faster the number, we know that. No, that's important too. Internal storage. That's what we need to know. So 1 terabyte, awesome. NVMe SSD. So that's good. That's one of the faster SSDs. So it's nice that they're giving us a terabyte right off the bat. Anything lower than that, I would have been disappointed in. My Xbox One X, I have to delete stuff off that all the time. Just for games with gold. I'm not a big digital subscriber. I buy my games physical when I want them. But I have games with gold. Yeah, that alone, I've had to delete games because every month I just download them. It fills up my 1 terabyte. I couldn't imagine people that only bought digitally. They must have tons of hard drives plugged in. So, at least we have a terabyte. That's nice. They also have an expansion for storage. 1 terabyte expansion card matches the internal storage exactly. So, I think what that means is that slot on the back that people have been wondering what it is, I think that's a special connector so you can plug in an external terabyte hard drive that matches the same speed that the internal one, so you don't lose anything from having, to plug in a USB. So, you can get up to 2 terabytes with the pretty much same benefits as the internal. And then there's an external storage for the USB 3.2, so it's pretty fast external. and you can add more hard drives. So it'll probably be cheaper to buy USB external hard drives, but you might gain load times probably because it's not as fast as internal, where with the expansion card, you're probably going to get the same load times, which, really, that's awesome. It gives you the choice whether you want exact match in your hard drive or affordable, terabytes. Optical drive. So we have 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. Obviously, they're going to have hard drive in it. I mean, a Blu-ray drive. You kind of need that nowadays. And most people just use their consoles for their Blu-ray players. So, Performance target. 4K at 60, up to 120. Now, that kind of makes it seem like they're trying to get 120 frames for 4K. However, the developer can figure it out. So, I mean, maybe they do a little less detail to get the resolution up. I don't know. It does seem like they're trying to shoot for 4K 120, which is great. Awesome. But yeah, no 8K. Now, let's be honest. 8K isn't important for consoles. If you sit 10 feet away from your TV, you're never going to notice the difference between 4K and 8K, which is what most people do in a living room. Yeah, the closer you get to the TV, you want that higher resolution. But with 8K, to see the difference between 8K and 4K, you're probably going to have to sit 2-3 feet away from your television that's like a 70-inch TV. And at that point, you're going to be doing this the whole time. What's the point of having a better resolution when you can't see the whole screen? So the distance you'd sit away from your TV so you can fit the whole screen in your view that's comfortable, 8K is not going to make a difference. Now, where 8K would make a difference was if the Xbox had VR capabilities so that the display on the VR could display 8K, because that's where we need 8K. We don't need 8K on a television. So 8K is pointless. 4K is always need. So, give me 4K 120 or higher as we move forwards. We don't need 8K. 8K just sounds good. So, yeah. Alright, moving on. Still talking about the ray tracing. They give us some examples on their website. It does look cool. Yeah, I mean, it's basically the difference back in the day when we first started getting shadows on the ground. It was like, oh, look at that. There's a shadow. Sweet. Yeah, that makes that scene come alive. I definitely have to say that. They talk about how the lights coming through windows now can give you different colors on the other side, different shadows as you move. I'm all for it. That looks great. That makes Minecraft look like a picture to something that you can step into, and it's just a boxy game. So, you know what? Ray tracing on. I hope almost all games use it. It does make a big difference. Basically, load times are being talked about still. Faster load times. Obviously, there's an SSD. It's a new console. It should be faster. But yet again, as games get more advanced, could load times just come up to being normal just because it's an SSD doesn't mean that, the future games will still have a faster load time. Everything kind of catches up at some point. The other thing, fast, input latency. They're talking about the HDMI 2.1, a variable frame rate for the new TVs that can support it. They're basically trying to make it so that there's no input lag. That's awesome. I hate input lag. It's one of those things that's hard to explain whether it's good, whether they eliminate it or not, or if it's any different than last console until you actually play it. So it's one of those things, you won't really know until you play a game that you're like, wow, this feels like it's a one-for-one action. As I press, it's happening on the screen. I mean, there's always input lag. Every TV processes, there's a little slight input lag. So, if they can get to the point where it feels like there's none, awesome. You really don't know until you play. So it's like, alright, thank you for doing the work. Hopefully, it makes a big difference. Another great thing they talk about is the quick resume. You can have 3 or 4 games that can be put into the SSD, they're saying, so that even if the console shuts down, updates, it loads back up instantly with no load screen or anything like that. That's awesome. They say one of the developers unplugged their console for a week, took an update, and was still able to play the game right away, right where they left off. I love that. That is awesome. Because a lot of times I'm playing one big game and then a couple small games to kind of break up my time, and it's nice not to have to switch in and out. Granted, you can only do that with digital games, because obviously physical, you don't have to put the disc back in. But it's really nice for the games where I do play digitally, like on Game Pass. I can just leave them there and then have my one game on disc that I'm playing most of the time. Because if I'm buying a game on disc, it's my main game. That's the game I'm playing all the time. So I like this to be able to take, alright, I'll take a break, try this game out for a bit, and not have to, like, do anything. So that's awesome. They continue to talk about the game compatibility for the next generation. It still sounds like it's up to them to put the game on there for backwards compatibility. They don't talk about whether you can bring your own disc that hasn't been available yet. I wish it was just, hey, Xbox is backwards, Xbox 360, Xbox One. If you have the game disc, put it in, it's going to work. Mostly because now we're still under their roof. We have to wait for them to do it. I have plenty of games that aren't available yet that I would love to play on there. So hopefully this means that because they talk about how powerful it is, how much of a bigger playground it is with the new Xbox Series X, that the team is like, all right, let's get as many games on there as fast as possible. I would love them to come out with the announcement for launch that they're adding 100 new of their best titles from the old generations, or even more right off the bat. Instead of being like, all right, we have a couple more games we're adding. I hope they just announce a bunch of new games. Here's hoping. With the new updates, though, they talk about how it'll be better, faster, look even better than the last Xbox Series X or Xbox One X. So at least they keep improving the way it's going to look, but I really need that compatibility to upgrade. They're also talking about cross-gen play, so you can play with cross-generations. I'm not really sure, how that's going to work. Is that just, if I have the game for the Xbox One X and then the Series X, we can play against each other? Or could I link it to an Xbox 360 and link it to my Series X and play like, a LAN party with Halo or something like that? I do like how all my Xbox One controllers, accessories, game saves will come over and work on the new console. Hopefully that means those work with the Xbox Series X games as well. So that way, I get the new console, I already have 4 controllers to play for party mode because I can just use my old consoles. I don't have to buy 4 new accessories. But I would imagine there's probably some limit to that. Smart Delivery is still talking about how, depending on what console you put the game in, it'll give you the best version by downloading that version. Awesome. Love it. Alright, that's the end of their little reveal. In all, it's nice that they're giving us. Now, what is PlayStation doing? There's nothing really new in this too much that wasn't already thought of. It is nice. It is weird that they took out the 8K. Obviously, it's not needed. I like how that the expansion port for more external hard drive space matches the internal, so there's no loss if you put it on that one as it would be on the USB. But I like how they also given us the USB section. We obviously know it's going to be more powerful. It's just now we just got to wait to see what the games are going to look and play and feel like, which is probably going to be an E3 time period, but obviously online. So, can't wait to find out. What is PlayStation doing? I don't know if they're just know that their console's less powerful than the Xbox, and they don't really want to talk about it to draw like negative hype. I guess they want to wait as long as possible to just be like, oh yeah, PS5 is coming out now, this is what it looks like, and not talk about the specs at all. Just talk about, things like faster loader times, more powerful, but not really give us numbers. That's what it sounds like they might be going to. Alright everybody, thank you for watching the Gaming Byte. If you liked the video, like, subscribe, share. Let me know, what's your favorite part about the Xbox Series X? What are you looking into? And are you even getting one? Or is it just you're going to PlayStation 5 no matter what? Alright everybody, thanks for watching. See you next time.